Yo, what's up guys? It's Noah here, and in today's video we're going to be breaking down the NBA slate on Draftkings and Yahoo for Friday, January the 21st. Now we do have a big Friday night slate. We had a small slate yesterday on Thursday, a little 3-gamer, but we got a big 11-game slate to go over. So as always guys, we're going to go through each one of these 11 games. We're going to break down each team, kind of give my early thoughts, what I do like, taking a first look at this slate on Thursday night. And then as we do go through each game, we will build out an early core. We'll talk about 5 players I specifically like for both DraftKings and for Yahoo at first look. But as always, guys, please do hit the like button down below. If you do enjoy these videos, make sure to hit that like button. I always do appreciate all the likes. If you're new to the channel, make sure you click that subscribe button as well. And if you have not yet, go check out the sponsor of this video, PrizePicks. So PrizePicks, new DFS site. Most of you have probably already heard about PrizePicks, but if you have not, they're a very simple DFS site to use. You're basically just picking the over or the under on players' projections. So you can take a look at their board for NBA. You can see they already do have some stuff posted for Friday night. You can take a look at their points props, rebounds, assists, 3-pointers made. Usually around, in the morning time, Friday morning, they'll get fantasy point projections posted as well. And you can take over or under on a player's fantasy point projection. You have to make at least 2 picks, but you can make up to 5 picks, and you can win up to 10 extra money on PrizePicks. If you guys do want to go sign up over there, make sure to use code NOAH when you do, and PrizePicks will give you a 100% match on your first deposit up to $100 when you do sign up with my code. And if you guys do want some of my favorite picks each day on PrizePicks, along with the entries that I am playing myself, that I am putting my own money on, I give those out on Patreon. If you want to become a Patreon member, you want to see all that I do offer on Patreon, that's linked down below in the description. You can get access to all of my PrizePicks plays, along with all of my other updated DFS content. So updated core plays, positional plays, favorite plays of each position, rankings, that's all available for Patreon members. Check that out if you are interested. It's linked down below in the description. But yeah, guys, let's go ahead and take a look at this big Friday night slate. We're going to start off with the first game of the night, OKC and Charlotte. So on OKC, this is a team that I really don't like targeting, especially on big slates, but we definitely want to talk about some of these OKC guys because it is a pretty good spot against Charlotte. Charlotte has been playing at a really fast pace this year, one of the fastest paces in the league. I think SGA, this is a pretty good spot for SGA. I think this is a game that can stay close. Charlotte, they're a good team, but normally they're not a team that's going to go out there and like blow you out. So I think SGA will get his full minutes here. We know when SGA does play 35, 36 minutes, like he has 50-plus point upside. Against this Hornets team that plays really fast, that hasn't been that good defensively either, I think SGA does offer quite a bit of upside. He is someone I do have some interest in the mid-range. Giddey and Dort are okay options. Giddey, I think, is 6'9", is fine. Also offers upside if the game stays close. The matchup's really good. I definitely think Giddey is playable. But I probably won't be going to any other OKC guys. I think it's just SGA and Giddey for me as tournament options. Price tags I don't love, but I think the matchup does put them on my radar at least. And then on the Charlotte side, so pretty good spot here. OKC not really that good of a defensive team. LaMelo at 8,600. LaMelo's been a really frustrating guy to roster. He'll have good games every now and then, but a lot of times he does disappoint at his price point. But we know the upside is still there for LaMelo. We know he can put up a triple-double any night, can go for 50, 60 DraftKings points any night. I think LaMelo as a tournament play makes some sense. He should be very low owned on this big slate. So I don't mind LaMelo. The rest of the Hornets, though, I'm not too high on. Terry Rozier has been playing really well as of late. 51 DK points last game, 44, 44. Like, he's been balling. But 7,600, like, you're kind of paying the premium for Terry Rozier right now. I just don't think he's a guy that I'd really be going out of my way to pay at this price point. But the recent production has been really good. If he keeps playing this well, I mean, he's definitely worth the price tag. I just think that at some point, he's going to regress a little bit. Not a player that I really want to be paying nearly $8K for, especially when the team is fully healthy, which they are right now. I think on this Charlotte team, you're probably looking at LaMelo as a tournament option, and that's probably it. Like, I don't see too much else I really like on the Hornets. So we can move on to the next game, talk about the Lakers and the Magic. So on the Lakers today, as you can see by the thumbnail, I do like LeBron quite a bit at first look today. I think he is one of the better pay-up options. LeBron is just doing everything for this Lakers team right now in close games, which, basically all their games have been close as of late, especially at least in not the Utah game or the Denver game, excuse me. But all these games, where LeBron's getting full minutes, he's playing like 36, 37, 38 minutes. Obviously, Orlando's not a very good team. Normally, you would worry about blowout here, but I just don't think the Lakers are good enough to blow anyone out right now. I think LeBron's going to play like 37, 38 minutes. I think they're going to need him. I don't know if this Lakers team, or if this Lakers team could beat the Magic without LeBron. I think LeBron plays big minutes here. I think it's a game that should stay close. the Magic don't have anyone to stop LeBron. He went for 67 Draftkings points, had a triple-double against them earlier this year. I think it's a really good spot for LeBron. He's just doing so much for this team. His usage is through the roof. He's stuffing the stat sheet every night. At 11-4, I think he's a really, really strong pay-up option today. And I do like LeBron on Yahoo as well. If you want to play him over there, $55 at the power forward position. Definitely like LeBron as a first-look pay-up option. The rest of the Lakers, though, I'm probably not going to go to. This team's just been so inconsistent outside of LeBron. Westbrook's price tag is way down, but like Westbrook has just been so bad lately. The minutes have been down. He's not playing as many minutes as he was before. Like I really don't want to go to Westbrook. Don't want to go to Malik Monk. He's been coming off the bench lately. I don't see much interest in him at 5,300. I think for the Lakers, it's probably just LeBron and that's it. Dwight Howard's been starting at center, but like his minutes haven't even been that good. He really hasn't been playing many minutes, even though he has been starting. So like even if Dwight Howard starts again, I'm not that excited about him. So we can talk about the Magic side of things. So looking at the Magic here, they should be getting Wendell Carter Jr. back today. He is probable with Wendell Carter Jr. coming back. That will hurt Mo Bamba a little bit. Mo Bamba is coming off a massive game against the Sixers where he went for 49 Draftkings points in 30 minutes. Mo Bamba does offer a lot of upside. I think he really benefits whenever Wendell Carter's out, whenever Mo Bamba gets all of his minutes at center. That's when he's really productive. But he's a productive player when he's on the floor at least. He should get around 30 minutes here. The matchup is really good against the Lakers. Like I think Mo Bamba is someone I have interest in from this Magic team. Cole Anthony's just been dreadful lately. The minutes have not been that good either, but he's 6,700 and the matchup is really good against the Lakers. This is a spot where I think Cole Anthony can have a lot of success. It's a big-time pace-up spot for the Magic. The Lakers have been playing really fast this year. Magic, on the other hand, I'm pretty sure they're like towards the bottom of the league in pace. Let's see where the Magic at. So they're 17th in pace. The Magic are, and the Lakers top 5 in pace so far this season. So big-time pace-up spot here for the Magic. I think a guy like Cole Anthony in tournaments does make some sense. I don't think he really gets much ownership, especially with how just inconsistent and just how bad he's been lately. So I kind of like him. I think Mo Bamba's in play too. Not really looking to many other Orlando guys. Maybe Jalen Suggs you could go to. Jalen Suggs did move back into the starting lineup last game, and he played 34 minutes. I think at 4,800, he's kind of priced where he should be. He's normally not a guy that's going to produce like at a rate that he did last game. Like normally he doesn't average a fantasy point per minute. It's usually a little bit less than that. But the matchup is really good, and if he starts and plays mid-30s minutes, he's definitely in play for value at 4,800. So I don't even mind Jalen Suggs as well. The Magic are a team I usually try and avoid going to, but like again, it's such a good spot against the Lakers. I could definitely see some of these guys having good games at their price points. So I did want to mention some of these Magic guys today, but let's move on to the next game, the Clippers and the Sixers. So the Clippers today, we're going to have to watch the status of both Marcus Morris and Nicholas Batum. So Marcus Morris got ruled out. Last game was a late scratch. For personal reasons, he is questionable again. If Marcus Morris does get ruled out again, the main beneficiaries are definitely going to be Reggie Jackson for sure. Reggie Jackson had a really good game last game, played 38 minutes, had 51 Draftkings points. His usage was through the roof, took 22 shots, also had 12 assists to go along with the 28 points. So the ball handling responsibilities for Reggie Jackson are going to be there. The minutes should be there as well. Like I think Reggie Jackson, if Marcus Morris gets ruled out, would be a really good play. Amir Coffey kind of busted last game, but I think he would play a lot of minutes as well. He has been getting a lot of minutes as of late. He's been starting as of late. So I still think Coffey would be fine. Luke Kennard made his return last game, played 27 minutes, wasn't that productive. I don't think I'd really be going to Luke Kennard, but they did move Terrence Mann back in the starting lineup, and Terrence Mann did play 39 minutes. Now, he wasn't that productive, only had 24 DK points in those 39 minutes, but if Terrence Mann were to start again, if Marcus Morris, and Batum were to sit, we'd probably be getting big minutes from Terrence Mann. He would definitely be on my radar as well as a value option. I know Serge Ibaka started last game, but he didn't really play much, just 14 minutes. Not much interest in him, even if he starts again. Going up against Joel Embiid, like maybe Zubac has to play a lot of minutes here. He did play 37 minutes last game against Denver, which is the most he's played all season. I know that game did go to overtime, but even after overtime ended, or even before overtime, he had played over 30 minutes in regulation. I don't think we get over 30 minutes today from Zubac, but if Marcus Morris and Batum sit, those are two guys that are basically like small ball centers that you can't play anymore. The Clippers are a team, they do like to play small when they can. You'll see them play Marcus Morris at the 5. They'll play Batum at the 5. Obviously, if those guys are out, they don't really have that choice. And I think in this matchup against Embiid, they're probably going to have to put Zubac out there as much as possible. Zubac is a really good point per minute player. He would definitely be viable even in a tough matchup. Only thing I worry about is foul trouble going up against Embiid, but I still think Zubac could be a fine play. But really, we're going to have to wait and see about, Marcus Morris and Batum. If both these guys play, I don't see too much I like from the Clippers, but if they get ruled out, that would definitely benefit Reggie Jackson, Terrence Mann, and even a guy like Zubac, I think, would become viable. But on the Philly side, looking at the Sixers here, so with the Sixers, I mean, Joel Embiid, 11K, I think is a really strong pay-up option as well. Like, Embiid has just been dominant as of late. He's been unguardable. Put up a massive game in only 27 minutes against Orlando last game. 77 DraftKings points, went for 50 points, 12 rebounds, 2 assists, 3 blocks, and a steal in those 27 minutes. I don't think the Clippers really have anyone to slow down Embiid here. I mean, they're going to put Zubac on him. They might put Hartenstein on him. They might try Ibaka. They might, go small. Whatever it is, it doesn't matter. Like, Embiid's going to find a way to score. He just dominates against everybody, it seems. He's become unguardable at this point. If this game does stay close, like, we're going to get big minutes from Joel Embiid. It's a big slate. There's a lot of pay-up options, but I definitely think Embiid is right up there, at the top of my list just because he's been so good as of late. I definitely have interest in Joel Embiid. The price tag on Tobias Harris looks good, but he's just not been that good lately. Did have a good game last game, 38 DK points in 35 minutes, but the upside for Tobias Harris just isn't really there. When he's playing alongside Embiid, it's just really hard for him to put up these massive games. He could put up like 35, 40 DraftKings points and be solid at his price tag, but I really think Tobias Harris is a guy that's like unlikely to win you a slate. So he's not someone I'm too excited about, even with the price tag coming down. Seth Curry, I think, is questionable. Yeah, he's questionable right now. So, like, if he sits, that can maybe benefit a guy like Tyrese Maxey. Maxey at 6K, not too excited about, but at least would be a viable option if Curry were to sit. But really, I think Joel Embiid is the guy we really want to be targeting from this Sixers team right now. And that's probably it from Philly. So, next game, we'll talk about Portland and Boston. Looking at Portland today, still no Damian Lillard. Yusuf Nurkic at 8,400. Not the biggest fan of here. Kind of a tough spot going up against Boston, but as of late, Yusuf Nurkic has been playing a lot of minutes and he has been really productive. Even with CJ McCollum back, like that hasn't stopped Nurkic. He's still been producing at a really, really good rate. We know Nurkic is a really productive player when he does get minutes. I don't think the matchup's that good, but Nurkic, if he does play like 30, 32 minutes, I mean, he can put up 50 fantasy points any night when he's getting the minutes because he's that good of a he's that productive of a player. Probably more of a tournament play, but I think Nurkic is viable. CJ McCollum, I don't think we can really go to. Now, his minutes are slowly starting to creep up. He played 28 minutes in his first game back from injury, but in the last game, his minutes did go up to 33. I'm guessing we get like 34, 35 minutes from CJ McCollum. Now, at 7,700, the price tag does look pretty good. The matchup is not the greatest against Boston. Definitely not the best spot for CJ McCollum. But if he is back to play in his normal minutes without Damian Lillard, I mean, we could definitely see CJ McCollum put up 45, 50 fantasy points if he does play 34, 35 minutes. So, like, I think CJ McCollum's viable. It's an 11-game slate. There's a lot of options today, but, he's on my radar at least. Anthony Simons, I'm not too high on. I know he had a solid game last game, but I think with CJ McCollum back, like, CJ is the guy that's really going to soak up most of the usage. Again, tough spot against Boston. I know Simons is still going to play a lot of minutes. I think the opportunity is at least going to be there, but I think more times than not, he's probably going to disappoint at this price tag. I would rather just play CJ, who, long-term has been a more productive player than Simons when they're both on the floor. And the rest of the Portland guys, I'm not too excited about, like Covington, Nasir Little. These guys don't really stand out to me. I think it's really just like CJ, maybe Nurkic you could go to, and that's probably it from Portland. Now, on the other side of this game with Boston, so Boston pretty much fully healthy here outside of Marcus Smart. Marcus Smart, once again, is questionable. Marcus Smart has been out, I believe, like the last 3 or 4 games. With Marcus Smart out, we've kind of seen the biggest beneficiary be Dennis Schroeder. Dennis Schroeder has been starting in place of Marcus Smart and has been playing big minutes, 36, 41, 37 minutes the last 3 games, and he's been really productive, 37, 47, 47 DraftKings points. Now, the price tag has come up to 6,700, so I don't think Schroeder's like a standout play today. But he would at least be viable if Marcus Smart were to be out again. If Marcus Smart returns, I don't really have any interest in Schroeder. The other Boston guys like Tatum and Brown, I think are contrarian plays today. It is a pretty good spot against Portland. Portland's not a good defensive team. This is definitely a spot where I could see one of Tatum or Brown doing really well. Again, at their price tags, like I don't think either one stand out today on this big slate. There's just other studs I'd rather be paying up for. But the matchup's good. I think in tournaments, if you're playing a lot of lineups, it makes sense to sprinkle in Tatum or Brown. But for me, as a one lineup guy, like I don't think I'd really be getting to either one of those guys in my one lineup. Schroeder is probably my favorite play from Boston here if Marcus Smart gets ruled out. If Marcus Smart plays, I don't really like anything on this Celtics team today. And then on the, that's really it for that game. So we can move on to the next game, talk about Miami and Atlanta. So looking at Miami here, Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo, I think both look pretty good once again. Tyler Hero and Kyle Lowry are both again going to be out. So without those two guys, like, you're going to see pretty big roles for both Jimmy and Bam. Now, Jimmy last game obviously got ejected, only played 15 minutes. I think, he got ejected like halfway through the second quarter, or maybe like closer to the end of the second quarter. Look, he wasn't that productive in those 15 minutes, only had 11 Draftkings points, but I think long-term, like, Jimmy is or at least should be a really productive player with Lowry and Hero both off the floor. They're going to start Jimmy at point guard once again. We know Jimmy can stuff the stat sheet. He does have triple-double upside. He put up a triple-double the game before, before last game when he got ejected. I think the matchup against Atlanta is pretty decent. Like, I don't think Atlanta's, that great of a defensive team. At least they haven't really been this year. In terms of defensive rating, I want to see where Atlanta is in defensive rating. I want to say they're towards the bottom of the league. Yeah, Atlanta, third worst defensive rating. Only two teams that have the worst defensive ratings this season are Houston and Portland. So Atlanta has not been good defensively this season. I think Jimmy's in a pretty good spot here. I like that he got ejected last game. I think that helps to keep his ownership down. I definitely think Jimmy's a guy I'll for sure be looking to go back to. I think Bam looks really good at 7,500. Now, obviously, last game, we can't really look too much into that one because Bam did play a lot in the second half. Basically, all of his minutes in the second half were without Jimmy because Jimmy got ejected like right before the second half. He went nuts in the second half, though. I think Bam had like maybe 18 or 20 Draftkings points at halftime and then just went nuts in the second half without Jimmy on the floor. Bam these last two games since coming back from injury. First game, 32 minutes, 31 DK points was not great, but he looked great last game. Only played 32 minutes again, which was a little bit of a surprise. I thought his minutes would slowly start to creep up, but they only played him 32. I think most nights, Bam's going to get his normal like 33, 35 minutes. I think we will see Bam play a few more minutes today. I think the price tag at 7,500 does look really good. Without Bam and without Hero and Lowry, I just think the usage on this team, like, it's going to be Bam and Jimmy just, dominating the usage. Those are going to be the guys getting all the rebounds, getting the assists, taking most of the shots. I think 7,500 for Bam. He looks like a pretty good center play today. I do like him quite a bit on this slate. If you want to play Bam on Yahoo, I think you can definitely play him over there at $34. I like Bam quite a bit, like Jimmy quite a bit too. The rest of Miami, I'm not too excited about. Like, I think you could look to some value here. Guys like Gabe Vincent, Max Strus, like, these guys are viable. Gabe Vincent played 37 minutes last game, had 31 DK points. I think his price tag is where it should be, but he's playable. Max Strus came off the bench, played 32 minutes, had 28 DK points, 4,600. Like, again, I think he's priced where he should be, but at least a viable play. Duncan Robinson has not been great lately. We know he's a really scoring-dependent player. He can get hot and have good games from time to time, but I don't have that much interest in Duncan Robinson. I think it's really Bam and Jimmy that stand out. And if you want to take some shots on Gabe Vincent or Max Strus for value, I think that's okay. But let's move on to the other side of this game and talk about Atlanta. So looking at Atlanta here, Trae Young, 10,300, as a pay-up option today. Not too excited about. I think it's a pretty tough spot against Miami. So far this year, Miami has done a really good job on Trae. Now, missing Kyle Lowry, missing Tyler Hero, does that change things? I don't really know. I think we might see Jimmy guard Trae Young, and if Jimmy is guarding Trae Young, then that's like a really tough spot for Trae. I think Trae's just kind of like a low-owned dart throw today. He's not someone that I have a ton of confidence in. Clint Capella is currently questionable. If he were to play, that would definitely take a guy like Okongwu out of play. It would make John Collins look a little less appealing. I'm expecting Capella to play. I think he's got a pretty good chance to play. If he does, he's not really someone that I have much interest in. Tough matchup for him against Bam. The one guy, though, that I do want to talk about, or the other two guys you could look to, are Kevin Huerter and DeAndre Hunter. So Bogdan Bogdanovic, is out right now. Obviously, Cam Reddish is no longer on the team. So we've seen Kevin Huerter and DeAndre Hunter both playing a lot of minutes. Kevin Huerter, he's been starting, been playing upper 30s minutes. The production has kind of been up and down, but he's going to play a ton of minutes, and he's still priced decent. So I think Kevin Huerter's in play today. And I think DeAndre Hunter looks like a pretty good value. He's also been playing pretty big minutes. Last two games, 35 and 34 minutes for DeAndre Hunter, 35 and 32 Draftkings points. He's been taking a lot of shots, which is good to see. He's normally not a guy that's like a super productive player, but the usage has gone up for him. He's been rebounding a little bit more. I think at 4,800, right now we don't have a ton of standout value on the slate. I think DeAndre Hunter as a value option is someone that I do have a little bit of interest in. He is pretty cheap on Yahoo, so if you want to play him over there, $15 at small forward, I do like DeAndre Hunter as kind of a first look value play today. And I think Gallo is questionable. So yeah, Gallo is questionable. If he were to sit, like, that would make me feel even better about guys like Hunter and Huerter, just because those guys would have to play even more. But yeah, that's probably it from Atlanta. We can move on to the next game. Talk about Toronto and Washington. So Toronto at this point, like you guys know, this is a team that is going to run a super, super tight rotation. You're going to see guys like Siakam, Van Vliet play, mid to high 40s minutes. I mean, 44 minutes for Siakam last game. Fred Van Vliet, 42 minutes for Fred Van Vliet. OG, he got 43 minutes. Like, Nick Nurse is playing these guys like it's a playoff game. Scotty Barnes was in foul trouble. He only played 28 minutes. But Chris Boucher off the bench played 34 minutes. And then other guy, Precious Achiuwa, he played 33 minutes. Gary Trent has obviously been out lately. I think Gary Trent, he was ruled out last game. He didn't play last game. If Gary Trent does play today, that'll throw a little bit of a wrench into things, just because he's another body that will get minutes. But right now, man, like, Toronto's just running such a tight rotation. They're just playing their main guys so many freaking minutes that, yeah, it's hard not to have interest in guys like Siakam and Van Vliet when they're playing 40-plus minutes a night. The matchup for Siakam, I think, is really good. Washington has really struggled against bigs this year. Guys like Siakam, I think, can have a lot of success against this Wizards team. Montrezl Harrell, Daniel Gafford, Thomas Bryant, like, these guys aren't really elite defenders by any means. The way you beat this Wizards team is, down low with big men. So I definitely like Siakam today as a tournament play. I think Van Vliet is a fine option as well. OG and Scotty Barnes, I mean, they're both going to play a ton. If this game is close, I think they're viable too. We'll say that Chris Boucher, I think his value kind of depends on if Gary Trent plays, because if Gary Trent plays, I think he'll cut into some of Chris Boucher's minutes. I think he'll cut into Precious Achiuwa's minutes. So guys like Boucher and Achiuwa, I would only be considering if Trent is out. If Trent plays, I would probably be off of Boucher and Achiuwa. But, those two guys you could go to just because they're going to get minutes as well. I mean, really, like on Toronto, everyone that's getting all their main guys right now are in play just because they're all playing so many minutes. Now, at their price tags, I don't think any of them stand out as, like, core plays or, priorities for me. But there are a lot of viable options here. When guys are playing 40 minutes a night, it's hard not to consider them. So definitely think you can sprinkle in some of these Toronto guys if you are playing, multiple lineups today. But then on the Washington side, looking at the Wizards, so, this is not a team I have too much interest in. Bradley Beal at the top, I think on this slate, doesn't really stand out. Kyle Kuzma at 8K, I don't want to pay for. The Wizards are a team I think we can almost fade for the most part. Like, I don't see too much I like here. The big situation is one I'm just not going to touch. Gafford, Harrell, Thomas Bryant, like, they have three guys they want to play minutes or they want to give minutes to. So you never really know how they're going to split up the center minutes between those three guys. I don't see much I like on the Wizards today. So we can move on to the next game, talk about the Bulls and the Bucks. So looking at the Bulls here, DeRozan and Vooch, both these guys should continue to get pretty heavy workloads with Zach LaVine and Lonzo Ball both out. These are going to be the two guys that really, dominate the usage, take most of the shots. These guys are going to play big minutes as well if it's a close game. The matchup against Milwaukee, I don't think is like the best by any means, but both DeRozan and Vooch at least have upside because they're going to, just get so much usage, so much opportunity. Kobe White and Ayo, I'm not as high on now that Caruso is back. So Caruso did return last game, played 23 minutes off the bench. I think Caruso will play more than 23 minutes today. So if the more minutes that Caruso starts to play, that's just more minutes that are going to take away from Kobe White and Ayo. Last game, Kobe White did still play 38 minutes, but like, does he keep playing those heavy minutes? Like, I think most nights he's going to play like low 30s. So not as high on Kobe White at 6'4". Ayo still played a lot. He played 39 minutes, but again, like, he's 6,100 now. I don't think we can expect him to continue to play 38, 40 minutes. I think maybe low 30s is more likely for Ayo, and if he's playing like low 30s, he doesn't really stand out to me at 6,100. Now, if they keep playing Ayo 40 minutes a night, then yeah, he's probably going to do well at his salary, but I think the minutes are going to come down a little bit just with, as Caruso starts to play more, that's going to take away more minutes from Ayo, from Kobe White. Those guys I'm not as interested in. Caruso probably wouldn't go there either until we see him get back to normal minutes. He's tough to trust right now. And that's probably it from this Bulls team. Now, on the Bucks side, looking at Milwaukee here, I think for me, this is a pretty easy team to break down. It's just Giannis, and that's it. Drew is back. Drew returned last game, played off the bench. I think Drew coming back takes me off of Middleton. Drew, I don't really have any interest in himself. Giannis, though, I don't think his role really changes too much. Like, he's just going to keep dominating. Last game, played 31 minutes, had 68 Draftkings points. We know Giannis is like one of the best fantasy producers when he's on the court. We know if this game stays close, which I think this is a pretty good Bulls team, even without Lonzo and LaVine. Like, this Bulls team should be able to keep this game close to where Giannis does play 33, 34 minutes. I think even at his really high price tag, I think he's still a pretty solid pay-up option. He's right up there with guys like LeBron and Embiid in terms of like my favorite spend-ups today. Giannis, though, is probably the only guy I'd be looking to on this Bucks team. We can move on to the next game, though, talk about Brooklyn and San Antonio. So On Brooklyn, with Kevin Durant out right now, it's the Harden and Kyrie show. Harden at 11.8 is a little bit tougher to go to. It's just a really hefty price tag for Harden. Obviously, he has upside without Kevin Durant, but, he's still going to be sharing the ball with Kyrie Irving. Kyrie Irving, his usage has been really good. He's been taking a lot of shots. He's been really productive these last 2 games without Kevin Durant. He's also played huge minutes, 38 minutes in back-to-back games for Kyrie. I think between Kyrie or Harden, I would just much rather play Kyrie for the $2,000 savings. I think Kyrie has close to the same amount of upside that Harden does. He's been really good these last few games. 9,500, I know that's kind of a high price tag, but Kyrie, without Kevin Durant, is a really productive player, and we've kind of seen that the last 2 games. I think he can easily give us 50-plus fantasy points. The matchup against San Antonio is pretty good. San Antonio has been playing really fast this year. In general, this should be a pretty fast-paced game. So I definitely like Kyrie. I think Harden's fine, but I prefer Kyrie straight up. LaMarcus Aldridge had a great game off the bench last game. Tough to trust LaMarcus Aldridge if he's coming off the bench still, just because I don't know if he plays 32 minutes again. But again, he was really productive. If he, it's a revenge game against San Antonio, if you want to factor that in. I think if Aldridge does play 32 minutes again, he's probably going to do well. I just don't feel great about his minutes. We kind of know Steve Nash. He just kind of plays the hot hand. Dairon Sharp's been starting lately. Dairon Sharp was in foul trouble last game. He was really productive, though, in only 16 minutes, had 28 DraftKings points. Dairon Sharp has been really productive in limited minutes so far this year. If they keep starting Dairon Sharp, he's at least a playable value. I don't feel great about his minutes just because they do have Aldridge they can give minutes to. But if Sharp's still starting, I think he's okay. That's all going to depend on Claxton's status, though. So if Claxton returns, that would definitely just take me off all the bigs. Patty Mills, I don't have that much interest in. I think 4,900. He's going to get big minutes, but I think he's priced kind of where he should be. His ceiling, playing alongside Harden and Kyrie, is just not really that high. But he's, I guess, a playable value. That's really it, though, from Brooklyn. Kyrie, for sure, is my favorite play on this Nets team today. And then on the San Antonio side, there isn't too much I like on San Antonio. I think Dejounte Murray as a tournament option makes some sense at 10,100. We know Dejounte Murray has massive upside. We saw that last game against OKC. Even in a blowout where he only played 30 minutes, he still scored 67 DraftKings points, had a triple-double. Dejounte Murray has been amazing this year. He's shown massive upside. I think the price tag is probably where it should be. And with the Spurs fully healthy now, I think Dejounte Murray's ceiling is a little bit capped. But man, last game he went out there and put up almost 70 fantasy points. So what do I really know? I think Dejounte Murray, regardless, has big time upside. I would feel better about him. I felt really good about Dejounte Murray whenever Derek White and all those guys were out for COVID, just because Murray was going to be the primary go-to guy. Now they have Derek White, they have Keldon Johnson, they have other guys they can turn to for scoring and for offense, but Dejounte Murray is definitely going to be the number one, and he's obviously a guy that can stuff the stat sheet. He is still a viable tournament option. He should be pretty low owned on this big slate, I would assume. Jakob Poeltl at 6'8" is okay, but at that price point, I think he's just kind of a contrarian option. I'd rather get up to a guy like Bam if I could find the salary to play Bam over Poeltl. The rest of San Antonio, I'm not that excited about. Maybe Derek White at 6K you could go to. He's going to start, play mid-30s minutes. He's fine. But that's it for this game. We can talk about the next game, Memphis and Denver. So looking at Memphis today, John Morant, 9,300. Another guy that I think is a really good tournament play. It's tough to prioritize Ja on this slate just because there are so many good pay-up options. I don't think this is the best spot on the road against Denver. But Ja's ceiling is just as high as all these other guys we've talked about. I mean, Ja went for 67 DraftKings points last game, played 39 minutes. His role without Desmond Bane, without Dillon Brooks, is just going to be insane. He's going to take a ton of shots. He took 27 shots last game, had 14 assists, 8 rebounds to go along with 33 points. The upside is definitely there for Ja right now. Still prefer some of these other pay-up options that we've talked about, but I definitely think Ja is viable. Triple J I'm not as excited about, but maybe his upside's a little bit higher. He had a really big game last game. I think, offensively they could use Triple J more. He took 20 shots last game. Getting Desmond Bane and Dillon Brooks off the floor, those are two guys that will take a lot of shots when they're on the court. So, there's going to be more shot attempts for Ja Morant, for Dillon Brooks, or not Dillon Brooks, but for Jaren Jackson Jr. One guy that I thought would play a lot last game was DeAnthony Melton, but they didn't even play DeAnthony Melton much at all, only 17 minutes. I don't know why, but I really feel like, so DeAnthony Melton was massive chalk last slate, and obviously he busted. I feel like nobody's going to play DeAnthony Melton today, and he's going to put up 40, just because that's how this shit goes. It really does seem like whenever a player is a really good play and he busts at high ownership, the next slate, when nobody plays him, that's when he goes off. So it would just be so fitting if DeAnthony Melton went out there today and put up 40. But it's really tough to trust him right now, given he only played 17 minutes last game, even with Brooks and Bane out. They went with John Conchar in the starting lineup. John Conchar played 32 minutes, had 24 DK points. I guess John Conchar is probably the value play you want to go to. If they start him again, I'd feel much better about his minutes over a guy like Melton. So 4,300 for Conchar if he does start is someone we can look to as a value play. I think Brandon Clark came off the bench last game. Yeah, but he still played 26 minutes. Brandon Clark's been a good productive player this year when he's gotten minutes, but I think at 5'1", like his price tag is to a point where I don't think he really stands out anymore. I will say that going up against Jokic, I think this is a spot where we could see Steven Adams play a lot. So far this year when they have faced Denver, Steven Adams has played an average of 30 minutes through those 2 games. Normally Steven Adams plays like low to mid 20s, but I think we could see him get into like the 30s in minutes just because they're going to want his size out there guarding Jokic. So I definitely think Steven Adams is a tournament play that is worth going to. He does have upside when he gets minutes. He's a guy that can do a little bit of everything when he's on the court. So I did want to mention him, but that's probably it for Memphis. So we can talk about Denver now. Looking at Denver here, I think Denver is pretty it's pretty clear for me. It's just Jokic and that's it. I don't really like anyone else on Denver outside of Jokic. Jokic has just been unreal as of late. Went for freaking 93 DraftKings points last game in that game that went to overtime against the Clippers. 41 minutes for Jokic. 49, 14, and 10. I mean, the dude is just unreal. The price tag is obviously really high, but Jokic, without a doubt, has one of the highest ceilings every single slate. He has one of the highest floors as well. I don't think Steven Adams is really going to slow down Jokic. He's going to do the best that he can, but I think Jokic could definitely dominate once again. He's for sure a strong pay-up option. With it being an 11-game slate, I'm assuming we're going to get some value open up as the day goes on. So, if there's a lot of value today, it's probably going to be, one of those slates where I would want to try and prioritize getting up to Jokic if possible. Maybe we could play like Jokic, LeBron, maybe go stars and scrubs. We'll have to wait and see what value opens up today. But I definitely like Jokic. The rest of Denver, I'm not that excited about. So next game, we'll talk about Detroit and Utah. So Detroit, man, like they're not a team I really like that much today. Tough matchup going on the road against the Jazz. This is obviously a game that has some blowout risk. Cade Cunningham in tournaments is always fine. He has upside, but he's also got a really low floor, especially because Detroit just gets blown out a lot. Cade Cunningham was in massive foul trouble last game. That's something he has struggled with a lot this year is fouls. I mean, I just don't see much I like from Detroit today. If you want to play Cade in tournaments for low ownership, I guess that's fine, but I think most of my interest in this game is coming on the Utah side. So looking at Utah, they're still going to be without Donovan Mitchell, so that makes guys like Mike Conley, Jordan Clarkson, Joe Ingles look really good. Clarkson and Ingles specifically, I like quite a bit. Clarkson, 5,800 on DraftKings, still pretty affordable. Ingles, 4,200, still pretty affordable. I like both those guys. I'm going to like them on Yahoo too because they're pretty cheap over there. Clarkson's $21. Ingles, still minimum salary on Yahoo. We saw last game without Donovan Mitchell. Jordan Clarkson still came off the bench, but he did play 29 minutes. Was pretty productive, had 31 DraftKings points. Usage without Mitchell is going to be up there. He's going to take plenty of shots when he's on the court. We know Jordan Clarkson is a guy that when he's out there, he's going to shoot the ball. Whether he's making shots or missing shots, he doesn't care. He's just going to keep shooting. He's a productive player. The matchup against Detroit, I think, is really good. Definitely like Jordan Clarkson here, and I think Joe Ingles looks like a really, really good value. Joe Ingles started last game in place of Donovan Mitchell, played 31 minutes, had 28 DraftKings points. I think Joe Ingles starts again, plays 30 to 32 minutes, probably scores 25, 30 DraftKings points, and at 4,200, at least right now with not much value standing out, I think Joe Ingles is someone that I will be looking to as a paydown option. I do like him from this Utah team. And then a guy like Gobert, I think, is definitely in play for tournaments. Good matchup for him against the Pistons. I don't think the Pistons really have any bigs that are going to stop Gobert, whether it's Isaiah Stewart or Trey Lyles or Kelly Olynyk. Like, none of those guys are going to stop Gobert. Could be one of those games where Gobert goes for like 20 and 20, has 50 fantasy points. So definitely think Gobert is a tournament play. Mike Conley, I think his ceiling is a lot higher without Donovan Mitchell. Still did not have the best game last game, just 32 DK points in 34 minutes, but it was good to see him play 34 minutes. So far this year, he's been kind of limited to like the low 30s, like high 20s. But he got 34 minutes last game, which is the most he's played in a while. Basically like all season. Like I don't think he's played 34 minutes all season. Let's see. Yeah, he hasn't played 34 minutes all season, so that was good to see. He played the most minutes he had all season last game. Maybe without Mitchell, they play Conley a little bit more. So I think Conley at 6'2" is for sure in play. Probably my third favorite Jazz behind Clarkson and behind Ingles. But that's it for this team. We can go ahead and talk about the last game of the night, the Warriors and the Rockets. So on the Rockets side today, not a spot where I have much interest. Obviously, this is a game that has a lot of blowout risk. Now, I do want to mention that Golden State is on a back-to-back today, and they did play the Pacers, and that game went to overtime. The Warriors actually wound up losing to the Pacers in overtime. I think there is a definite possibility that the Warriors will rest some guys today, so we'll definitely want to be watching that. But for now, I'm expecting everyone to play, and if that's the case, like, this game could definitely be ugly. It could be over by halftime. I don't know if the Rockets are good enough to keep up with this Warriors team. But if the game does stay close and you do get full minutes from Christian Wood, full minutes from KPJ, like these guys have upside. I think the matchup for against Golden State like is actually decent for Christian Wood, especially since there's going to be no Draymond out there. Draymond's obviously one of the better defenders, and obviously he's the Warriors' best defender. Not having Draymond out there, I think, does make it an easier matchup for Christian Wood. So like as a low-owned dart throw, I think Christian Wood is fine. Same with KPJ. But those are probably the only two guys I'd be considering on Houston. And then on the Golden State side, so yeah, we just have no idea who's going to be playing here. I think there's a very good possibility that Steph Curry does not play. We've seen Steph Curry rest a lot on back-to-backs this year, and given that the game went to overtime on Thursday, Steph Curry played, like, how many minutes did he play in overtime? He played 43 minutes, played 44 minutes. It's a back-to-back. They're playing the Rockets. I mean, this is definitely a spot where Steph Curry probably rests, but we'll have to pay attention to this. For now, expecting Curry to play. If he does play, obviously, the upside against Houston is massive. I mean, Houston is so bad defensively. They play at such a fast pace that, I mean, this is one of the best spots you could get for Steph Curry. Klay Thompson's going to be out as well. So, Klay Thompson, it's a back-to-back. They've already said that he's going to rest for today. So, like, with Klay out, I think that does make Curry look pretty appealing. He's still just kind of a contrarian option. I don't think his floor is just so low compared to guys priced around him like Embiid, Jokic, Giannis, LeBron. Like, those guys just have such a higher floor than Steph, but the ceiling on Steph, without a question, is, without a doubt, is there. He can put up 70 any night. He had a massive game Thursday. Like, I think Steph's in play for tournaments. The rest of Golden State, I'm not too high on. Jonathan Kuminga was a pretty popular value play on Thursday, and for some reason, he only played 15 minutes. Like, I really have no idea why. Kuminga's minutes were starting to trend up. He was getting a ton of run. Steve Kerr was talking him up, saying how well he was playing. 25 minutes, 33 minutes, 24 minutes. Then out of nowhere on Thursday, he just plays 15 minutes. Without Draymond, they've said that Kuminga is going to be the starter. But I have no idea how many minutes he plays today. He could play 15 again. He could play 30. He could play 35. I think it's a really good spot for Kuminga against the Rockets. I think he would play in a blowout as well if this game does get ugly. So, I still think Kuminga's in play for value, but looking at how his minutes went or how many minutes he played Thursday, that's obviously a concern that he only played 15 minutes. So a little bit risky, but I guess still viable. The only other guy I'll mention is Jordan Poole and Gary Payton. So I'm guessing one of Poole or Payton will start in place of Klay Thompson. Whichever one starts, whether it be Poole or Payton. Poole at almost 6K, I'm not too excited about, but I think Gary Payton at 4,200, if he were to start, he would definitely be someone we could look to as a value play. But that's it for Golden State, guys. Definitely a team, with it being a back-to-back, we're going to have to watch the injury report for the Warriors because I think there's a good possibility that we do see some guys rested here. I think there's at least a non-zero chance that Steph Curry gets rested today. And obviously, if that happens, that's going to change the entire slate. We'll talk more about that in the live stream. I'll be live an hour before lock on my YouTube channel, breaking down the slate, talking about all the news we get during the day. But yeah, guys, I hope you enjoyed this first look video. I hope it helped. If you did enjoy, please hit the like button down below. Hit that subscribe button as well. Go check out the sponsor of the video, PrizePicks. Go sign up for PrizePicks. Use code NOAH when you do, and PrizePicks will match your first deposit. They will give you a free bet up to $100 when you do sign up with my code. You can take a look at what PrizePicks has to offer. You can make some picks for tonight's NBA games. You have to make at least 2 picks, but you can make up to 5 picks. You can win up to 10 extra money on PrizePicks. Go check them out. Sign up. Use code NOAH. Also, if you guys want some of my favorite plays each day on PrizePicks, check out the Patreon. Link down below in the description. I give out all my favorite PrizePicks plays each day for Patreon members. You can check that out if you're interested. But good luck tonight, guys. Thanks for watching the video. Hope you enjoyed, and we will see you in the next one. Peace.